Hi, and welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Martin Bailey, and joining us today is Sophy Moynagh. Welcome, Sophy. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Hi, Martin.
Now, Sophy's the director at Anglia Labels Limited, and probably the best place for us to start this whole process off, Sophy, is for you to tell me a bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am the owner and one of the directors at Anglia Labels. I recently joined the company about a year ago, having inherited it from my father, who started the company up 43 years ago. And who for the last 10 years had been taking a back seat as chairman. We have an MD here at Anglia Labels, but he had previously been the only director on site. And so, having spent the last 10 years in the insurance industry, I decided that there was an opportunity to kind of bring my wider business experience to the family business. And I've been here developing the marketing function to start with, but now really focusing on operations and how we can really develop and improve the company for the future.
Wow, that must be quite interesting for you. It's a bit of a change from the insurance industry, isn't it?
Yeah, massive change. I was an underwriter in, various corporates in London and New Zealand for a bit. So I've had quite a wide range of exposure. And I've worked for small family businesses as well, through various tangents in my career, but mostly corporate. So really massive change coming to work for a small family business in rural UK.
So tell us about what do Anglia Labels actually do? What is your sole product or?
So we're a manufacturer of custom-made self-adhesive labels, and we use a combination of digital technology and flexographic printing methods. We specialise in small to medium print runs, so we supply labels to a wide range of industries, from the drinks industry, hence the cocktails lined up behind me, and the car care industry, horticultural industry, chemical, agrochemical, a hugely diverse customer base.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned that you came across and where you started your focus was around the marketing. So that must pose some challenges on such a broad base.
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective, how did you sort of overcome that, or how did you sort of get your target markets really focused?
That is a very good question, and the answer is it's really, really hard to work that out. As a company that's been in business for 43 years, we're very lucky that we have a very loyal customer base and some really strong relationships. And predominantly, we've kind of got into a position where we've looked after and serviced those customers, but haven't really focused on developing our sales. So it was, the starting point was obviously to look at our previous sales, but one of the biggest challenges was the data and the fact that we hadn't actively been collecting data in an easily analyzable format. And then it was a case of,
sorry, when you say data, you're talking about a CRM system. There's been no sort
yeah, so we've got none of that, very, very manual processes, very much, print out a spreadsheet, put it in a file kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it was, that was the number one challenge, was actually how could I look back at what we'd sold. And then, the next challenge was, okay, well, that's what we've been providing. Who do we want to target going forward? And that's potentially a whole different ball game or different, angles. So, part of that was obviously then drilling down to look at the products that were profitable for us and, defining that. And to be honest, the lack of data has been a really big block to understanding that, and even the competitor, defining who our competitors are is quite a tricky one, because there's a lot out there, but they're all doing slightly different things. So yeah.
So when you drill down, I mean, as we all know, drilling and find your most profitable activities is the first thing you want to do, because you want to be promoting them more than anything else.
Yeah.
Did you end up having to lose some stuff off the bottom end, maybe some activities or some products that you were using because you found actually we're not making any money from these, or the amount of effort is just not worthwhile?
Yeah, and that's I would say, and I think that has been, on paper, that's 100% what we are doing or would like to do. The difficulty is, I suppose, is getting the team to see that marketing is the driver to the business we go after, because traditionally it's been very reactive, or customer wants us to do this, let's just do it, and this is our price matrix. But as I say, we haven't been actively drilling down into the real cost of those jobs. So for someone to come in and go, well, hang on a minute, that customer that's been giving us loads of business, when did you last look at how much that was actually making us and the margin? And also we have, it's been really peaks and troughs for the last few years in terms of business being good and bad and riding through rocky periods. So we haven't always been in a position where we can cherry pick. And so, it's been quite a bold thing to stand up and say, well, guys, we've got to be able to have a walk away point for some of this business, because we need to go and get the stuff that is going to make us money. And so that's a huge cultural shift for us, internally. And it's been quite a journey for me to be the one standing up as the one who doesn't know anything about labels to go, hang on, why are we doing that? So yeah, that is definitely very much a shift we're still going through.
You make some very good points in terms of, like, from a marketing perspective, make sure that even if you're a new business starting out from day one, that you capture your data and you've got a quality platform that you can utilize and leverage your data over time and over years. It's there, it's clear, who your customers are, who your prospects are, and who your leads have been. And then, as you said, really drill down into your activities, understand what your margin is by customer, understand what your margin is by activity, because you want to be investing all your time and your effort in where you're going to make the most money and not where you want to make you make the least. And then those two are massive. You started talking about cultural shift, so that got me. You sparked my interest in culture now. So that for you coming in, taking a team that's been established for a number of years and trying to change their mindset and their thought process. What sort of challenges have you faced around that?
A lot. Short answer. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, the first thing to say is that, we're really proud of the fact that we've got a workforce with a very low staff turnover. We've got, we've got a production manager that's been here for 40 years. Some of the machine operators, 35 years, 25 years. So a huge amount of skill and knowledge within this business. And the challenge has been coming to the business with external experience and obviously gaining people's trust that I'm not this big bad corporate wolf, and please don't go running to the hills because I mentioned KPIs. But really just slowly winning people's trust and respect, number one, but also just trying to reassure people that there's it's a valuable thing to have some external experience, and we can learn from each other, and that will make us a stronger team. And it's also really hard to make change when you haven't got results to show people. So it's very much, I promise you guys, if you do this, you will see it. And we're in the really early stages of that. So, for example, things like implementing KPIs and performance reviews, which are really, really alien to a lot of the people here. But it's too soon to be able to show them the benefit of having a system like that. And so, there has been, but it's they're natural challenges, not unexpected challenges, I would say. And, on the flip side, it's exciting. And I think it's good that these changes are happening, and hopefully people can see. I think, again, a company that's been running for this long with staff with such low staff turnovers can get quite stagnant, and so having new energy can reassure people that there is a vision for the future, especially with having new owners come into the play.
So I mean, what sort of things have you done to get the gain the team's trust? What sort of things or activities or strategies have you put in place to enable that to happen?
Well, the first thing was, from a personal point of view, making sure that I didn't come in with a, I'm the boss type attitude and, just putting myself at the top. I mean, obviously on paper, I can't that fact, but reality, it was, obviously spending time to get to know everybody in the building and understanding everybody's process, what everybody's doing, and really being present is a big one. So I don't sit in an office, I sit with the team, in amongst them, and also just, I think, continuous communication around why things might be of values, whether that's training or IT improvements. It's sort of just having the evidence and the facts to kind of justify why we're doing something, rather than just saying, right, this is happening tomorrow, for example. And it's helped me a lot to kind of connect with other small business owners regionally who have in the industry specifically as well. That's been a good way to gain trust, is kind of network within the industry, so that I can kind of say, oh, I've spoken to such and such at that label company, and they're doing this. So it doesn't feel like, it's just, again, this kind of alien experience being slapped on something very different.
So, I mean, does your business have vision and mission and values in place? Do you utilize that to help the team gain trust? Or
yeah, so the first thing that we did after I got my feet onto the table was really kind of build out a really detailed business plan for the next 1 to 3 years in the short term. And my sister's the other co-owner, sat with Ian, the MD, to kind of really pin down what is the vision, and then filter that down into functional plans. So, I think the other key strategy was really defining roles and defining functions and how they feed into that bigger goal, because, as I'm sure is a quality of so many smaller firms, everyone was doing a bit of everything, and it wasn't necessarily the most efficient use of that skill or that person.
yeah.
So we've been sort of gradually building out, and say, an operations plan, a marketing plan, a sales plan, a production plan, and then everybody's roles within that. So job descriptions were something that hadn't really been pinned down before. And going through that process was a really key way of kind of highlighting to people what their worth was and their value in terms of the wider business goals.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because you're right, a lot smaller. I mean, you fleeted across the word KPIs a minute ago as well, which are really, really crucial, because roles, responsibilities, KPIs, and departmental plans are absolutely crucial to achieve the ultimate goal. And there's lots of small businesses where actually they don't think by department, because in a lot of cases the business owner is every department.
Yeah.
And actually the learning for a business owner is to say, well, okay, I may be every department, but I need a plan for my marketing. That's separate from my plan for operations, which is separate from my financial plan, which is separate from my people plan.
Yeah.
And they always have to have 4 plans.
Absolutely. And I think there's 2 key things for us. Succession is a big one because of the age of a lot of our workforce, and accountability is the other one. And previously it's all come back to the MD, and that's a really tough and lonely place to be. And so just filtering that out to every single person, and having those measures and that way of, that's one of the challenges. Going back to the challenges, people think, oh, people are trying to trip me up in my job. And so that's been a huge thing, is to say KPIs are not about catching you out, it's about continuous improvement and measuring how well you're doing. And if we're not doing that, what's the problem? Is it something we're not giving you, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and it's interesting. It sounds like you've got a very established business, which is great, which you are, which in a lot of ways you're trying to change the culture in a lot of respects, aren't you? You're trying to change it, bring it, modernize it, get the thinking to become more efficiently a big business, right? And get people to start thinking of it as a big business rather than a small business.
Yeah. I think it's yeah, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily about getting people to think about it in big business terms. I think it's about just that work smarter, not harder philosophy, and that's a huge cultural shift. And I think again, it's not the difference between a big and a small business. In some cases, it's a generational difference. As a woman in business as well, I've seen the shift over the last 20 years in how women in the workforce, attitudes towards women have changed, but also the attitude towards working habits. So flexible working, it used to be all about the hours you put in. Now it's about what you put into the hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the cultural change that we're talking about. It's that whole, don't just do it that way because you've always done it that way. How could we do it? What difference would it make if we just did it that way? And
So it's not. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not about the hours that you add up. It's about the value that you add these days. And you're right.
Yeah.
There's been a big shift. It's about, if you can add value in 10 hours, then add value in 10 hours. Don't work for 20 just for the sake of it.
Yeah. And that's still a hugely difficult thing to change for people that have been working that way for millions of years without, sounding like you're undermining everything that they've done. And
Yeah, but if you can get them to change, they'll probably thank you for it because they'll get more time with their family and their kids.
Exactly.
So look, final question for me is obviously you've come into business. It's an exciting time. There's lots of excitement, lots of stuff going on, lots of change happening. Where do you see yourself? Well, you said you got a 3-year plan. So where do you see yourself in 3 years' time?
We have a vision to grow. That is the vision, and obviously be a larger, more successful, more profitable label business with a really positive, productive workforce that want to keep developing the company. That's really the vision. I think a company, there's many companies of our size, and many of them, interestingly going through that second generational that change. And I think it's either grow or get swallowed up for a lot of us, and we want to stick around and make it work. And for me, it's obviously a personal legacy as well. So yeah.
So dare I throw in, does the acquisition word throw into your plan?
We might acquire somebody else, but we wouldn't let anyone acquire us.
It's a good attitude to have. Good attitude to have, and a real positive note to finish our conversation on. So look, Sophie, this has been fantastic. I think that the conversation we've had, there's so much learning for people around change, around team, around KPIs and roles. I mean, just loads of gold dust. So I just want to thank you for giving me your time today and taking the time to chat to me. It's been brilliant.
No problem. Thank you.
No, thank you, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye.